Hi, everybody. I'm Isabelle Brocas. I'm professor at the University of Southern California. I'm also the co-director of the Los Angeles Behavioral Economics Laboratory. I'm a behavior scientist. I'm working at the intersections of economics, psychology, and neuroscience. And today I'm going to be discussing with you an introduction of behavioral science and also give you some kind of idea of nudge theory.
So there are many ways to describe this complicated field, and I will approach it through the angle of economics. If you have already taken classes in economics, you may already understand how researchers envision human behavior in order to predict how economic agents choose and what market outcomes should be observed. So the premise of economics is that people are rational, which is a big assumption, and it means many things together. So formally, people are assumed to know what they want, to always choose what is in their interest, to have no limitation in their capacity to think, to compute, to take all relevant information into account correctly. And these assumptions are very strong, but sometimes the predictions we obtain with these assumptions are quite close to what we observe. So for instance, by the end of elementary school, children have well-defined preferences, and they act as if they choose what is best for them. So we can say that people optimize their choices, which is rational. But other times they are not. So this is when we need to better think about how people make decisions and consider that their choices are not rational. So for instance, people buy things they never use. They may think there is a utility for them at the time they purchase, but right after they realize it was a waste of money. So this usually comes with regret and the feeling that they should have avoided buying these things. Over the years, economists have included new elements into their models to account for situations like this. This gave rise to behavior economics, the kind of behavioral science that economists do. Understanding how people make decisions is a complex task, and here is why, in very general terms. So we are sort of a machine that is built to process information in a certain way. And the machine has limitations, and it is influenced by a variety of things. So let me just try to take a simple example. So suppose you are choosing between two food items. You see and you smell the food, and this information is processed by sensory systems in the brain. It's mapped into memories of these foods to identify them and to compute their values. This process is very quick, you're not aware of it, but your brain goes through these steps each time you need to decide what to pick to eat. Now, if you are on a diet, this processing becomes more complex because you need to think about future outcomes, such as gaining weight, for instance. This process requires more attention. Attention is costly, and sometimes you cannot process the information correctly. Suppose, for instance, that you are working on a homework that you need to turn shortly, and you need to attend to your mom asking what you want to eat. You may not think it through because your brain is doing something else. So decision-making is affected by many factors, and attention is one of them. But many other biological mechanisms can also disrupt processing. If you're hungry, you will pay more attention to certain aspects of the choice, such as the tastiness of the food. If you are stressed out, you may choose a food that is less healthy. These mechanisms are also influenced by genes. Genes greatly determine how our brains work, whether we form good memories, whether we are good at focusing. And they are also influenced by environmental factors. Eating healthy foods as a child helps forming memories about healthy foods and developing preferences for healthy foods. So as you see, this is complex, but it is also fascinating. Many behavioral scientists are interested in using this knowledge to shape behavior, to nudge. The origin of nudge theory is the realization that our brain resorts to two kinds of processes. One kind relies on heuristics, intuitive and fast responses. So that is the one that makes you value the tastiness of food. Another kind relies on cognitive processes that are slow and costly. This is the one you need to use to assess how healthy foods are. Most of the time we use quick processes because they are cheap. But often we would benefit from using the more cognitive processes. So for those of you who know a bit about behavioral economics, this model is often referred to as System 1 and System 2. It is an old model to differentiate instinctive thinking and conscious reasoning. It has started as early as in the 17th century with Descartes' mind-body dualism. It has been refined by many and popularized by Daniel Kahneman in his 2011 book, Thinking Fast and Slow. This model has neuroscientific evidence and support, even though it is a bit simplistic. But coming back to shaping behavior, how can we proceed? One way is to induce people to engage cognition by reminding them that they should think about their health. Or we could give them incentives by changing their health coverage if they become sick. This would also encourage them to engage cognition. But a simple and sometimes more efficient way is to make small changes to help people avoid bad choices without really thinking about it. For instance, we can place healthy foods in such a way that they are easier to reach in a cafeteria. That is the general idea. And as you can imagine, we can apply nudges to change behavior in a way that helps individuals and communities. If you are interested in these topics, I encourage you to visit our YouTube channel. Here we explain some of these processes in more detail. Also visit the Labor Classroom website that provides a wealth of resources for an educated but general audience.
Thanks for listening.